Good evening, everyone. I'm Commissioner Bud Blake, Thurston County Commissioner, and you're watching Thurston County Connections on TCTV. And today we're talking about a very special subject near and dear to my heart. It plays an integral part of our society. That's volunteers and volunteerism in Thurston County. Before we get started, I'd like to give you a little background that there's so many people out there that dedicate their time and services to many facets of the county. For example, we have volunteers in the Office of Assigned Counsel, the Sheriff's Office, especially the Explorers, Stream Team, and the Veterans Advisory Board, just to name a few. But today I've outlined the program to cover seniors, the youth, and the medical community as a whole. Today I have with me Eileen McKenzie Sullivan. She's the Executive Director of Senior Citizens of South Sound. And she's going to tell us about the program and what she has here as far as the services. How are you doing today, Eileen?
I am great. Yeah. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Bud.
You bet. So give us a little background on what the senior services do here and on your role as far as the Executive Director.
Great. So Senior Services has been around for 43 years now.
Oh, my word.
It's amazing. I haven't been here all 43 years. Yeah. Almost, but not quite. And we really help improve the lives of people as they age. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people don't like the word senior, but you know, we say 55 and older, we're here to help, whether it's somebody that's just newly retired and wants to find a way to connect in the community, or if it's somebody that's 95 and maybe homebound, needs some care, maybe needs Meals on Wheels. So we have a whole continuum of programs that really helps keep people vital and active as possible in the community.
You bet. Sounds very interesting. So some of the programs, can you tell the audience a little bit about the programs you offer? And
you bet. In a nutshell, we started out as a senior center. We used to be the Senior Center of Thurston County.
Oh, wow. Way back when, huh?
Yeah, way back when. And about 30 years ago, we changed our name because we were doing so many other things. So we have an adult daycare program called STARS.
Oh.
We have transportation. We go out to places where people can't get on the bus or can't get dial-a-lift because they're too far out in the county.
You bet.
We have a program for folks that need in-home care called the Care Connection.
Okay.
We have a program that offers support group and kind of resource connection so they get the right resources they need in the community. We don't provide all the resources, but we try to connect them.
No, yeah, it's important.
And then kind of the biggest part of our program, really half of the size of our agency, is our senior nutrition program and Meals on Wheels. So we have 8 different nutrition sites in Thurston and Mason County, and then wonderful, you talked about volunteers. If it wasn't for those volunteers, we couldn't do a lot, but we definitely couldn't do Meals on Wheels.
Kind of the backbone of all this, right?
They are, definitely.
So you mentioned Mason, Olympia. Are there other places throughout Thurston County that you provide services to?
Right, we provide lunches in Yelm, and Tenino, and Rochester. We have a little site over in West Olympia that serves Vietnamese elders, and then Olympia and Lacey Nutrition Centers, where we also have the senior centers there.
So geographically spread out, the organization has been here for a while, and the backbone of this has really been the volunteers. Tell us a little bit how volunteerism and the volunteers, maybe a story or two, and just how it works for you.
I would love to. So program-wide, we have about 450 volunteers that serve. That's a lot of volunteers.
450.
Yeah. So as an agency, we have 50 paid staff, which a lot of them are part-time. So maybe it's about 30 full-time equivalents.
Roll up all the FTEs.
Right. But so we couldn't touch the nearly 5,000 people that we serve if it wasn't for the volunteers that do it. Yeah. And some of the things that they do is deliver Meals on Wheels, answer the phone, work in the office. They pour coffee, they serve lunch, they actually get in the kitchen and cook. They help one-on-one with our frailer clients. It's just amazing what they do. They teach classes at the senior center. We have a trips and travel program, and volunteers plan the trips. They escort the trips. Some of them even drive the bus. So
one of the fun ones, huh?
Yeah, one of the fun ones, definitely. So if it wasn't for the volunteers, like I said, very little would be done.
And you've seen a lot of volunteers, haven't you?
Yes.
In your mind, and from your heart and your mind, what is it that makes a person want to volunteer? The 450 of them, why do they get up in the morning and get out of bed and come here to volunteer?
You know, I think they want to make a difference.
Oh, okay.
That's the bottom line. They want to make a difference and reach out and touch someone. just last week we had our volunteer recognition luncheon, and we were thanking the volunteers in the little way that we can thank them.
Sure.
And afterwards, one of the volunteers that actually delivers Meals on Wheels came up and said, "You didn't mention that sometimes we're first responders."
Oh, yeah.
Because they call 911. They get to the home, and if somebody has fallen or is on the floor, they're the ones that end up actually being a first responder,
So the
too.
eyes and ears forward of life and making
They
sure
really
that continuum
are.
care happens. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so we have any volunteers as far as the special guests today?
We do. We have a couple of wonderful volunteers that I'm looking forward to you meeting.
Okay, let's talk to them.
Okay.
As Eileen had mentioned, there's approximately 450 volunteers here at the Senior Services for South Sound. And today I have with me Paula, who's a transportation coordinator, and she's going to give us a little insight on what she does for the seniors here. Paula?
Well, I am fairly new to the area, and my husband was brought here with his military career. So I decided with so much time on my hands, there was nothing better I could do than volunteer. And I have a passion for seniors, so I decided that I would contact Senior Services for South Sound. And Isaac directed me into the transportation department, where I just fell in love with the clients immediately.
Oh, wow.
I have one client that I pick up every week, twice a week, so I've gotten to know him really well. And then some of the other clients that I pick up are for medical appointments or even grocery shopping or other appointments they need. They just need transportation from their home to wherever their appointment is.
Doggone, that's very good. So you mentioned a couple individuals there. Kind of give us an idea on a day-to-day or week-to-week how many people you help out as far as the seniors.
It could be anything. For me personally, I'm usually anywhere from 2 to probably 5 per week. But I know transportation is very busy. They have some volunteers that go as far as Seattle for medical appointments, and they're just, it's a very busy department. I'm just one person in that.
And how many people are in there to help out in addition to what you do?
I believe Michael right now has about 10 drivers, 10 volunteer drivers, and we each kind of have an area that's kind of become our little area, but and I do a lot over in Lacey also.
Oh, okay.
So that's about 10 right now, I believe.
So tell me in the audience, what makes Paula want to do something like this? What is it that gives you the inspiration to want to be involved in an organization like this?
Well, I have, for some reason, just a passion for seniors, and I started volunteering in Virginia, and my company started serving meals to senior citizens locally there, and I felt like I got, about 80 grandmothers out of that. It was just, I just fell in love with them.
That's great.
So when I moved here, I just kind of missed that work, and I missed spending my time that way. So when Isaac kind of directed me to this part of volunteering, it just seemed like a good fit because I could meet several different seniors and spend some quality time, because some of the times I have them in my car, over an hour, and so we talk, and it's just fun to hear their stories, and I think they like a new audience for their stories also.
I love the stories too. They're great, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you very much, Paula, and I wish you the best, and we love you for what you do for this community.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
You're right.
I've been a volunteer here at Senior Services for South Sound about 6 years.
Oh, wow.
I work in the office here as a receptionist, and as a receptionist, we answer telephones, we count money, we stuff envelopes, we just do all kinds of things. We make change for people, we sell memberships. We do lots of, we schedule people in classes. We schedule people for haircuts. And then I also volunteer for the nutrition program, checking people in for the lunch every day.
So for the classes, what have you seen that they like the best as far as?
There are a lot of people that there's a waiting list as long as my arm for the pottery classes.
Oh, the pottery class. Oh, my word.
And the watercolor classes, we have a wonderful instructor for that.
Wow. And so on a day-to-day or a weekly basis, kind of give us an idea how many people you help out in those functions that you just said you volunteer for.
Well, we have upwards of 50 to 75 folks that come for lunch every day.
Oh, there you go.
And in here we do we meet whoever comes to the window.
And that could be just a huge number of people,
Yes,
right? So
yes.
you play an invaluable role in terms of what this
Oh, yeah,
the services
yeah.
here that are offered.
And it's a
what have you.
lot of fun.
Is it a lot of fun?
Yeah.
What makes you want to do it, and other than the
Well,
fun part of that?
after I became wheelchair bound, I needed something to do that I could do. And so I opened a new chapter in my life. It's one of the best things
Very
that I've
good.
ever done
Wow.
is to be a volunteer.
That's very, very kind of you. And so how long do you think you'll continue doing this? Is
Oh,
this-
as long as I'm physically able to.
There you go.
So,
Wonderful.
yeah.
Thank you so much, Billy.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. So we're back with Eileen, and I have a couple questions for her. Eileen, I know you have 450 volunteers, but there's so many more people out there. Are you in need of more volunteers here at the senior services?
Well, you know, Bud, our largest population part of the world is seniors, and there's more and more with more needs. So
It is
yes,
growing.
we can always use more volunteers, whether they're seniors or juniors or whoever.
Right.
Yeah.
It really has a payoff for us helping the people out in the services.
Yeah.
And then how would one go about finding out, getting involved with the organization here?
Well, they can do one of two things. They can call us at 360-586-6181.
Say that number again.
360-586-6181.
Great.
Or they can go to our website, www.southsoundseniors.org.
Wow.
And we actually have our volunteer form right on our web.
So they come in and fill out the form, and you do a little assessment to see where
Yeah,
they place.
and what kind of things they might like to do. Do they like to drive? Would they like to work one-on-one with seniors, more in a group? Do they like cooking? You know,
Outdoor, indoor, all that kind of
Exactly.
stuff. It's kind of
Yeah.
doing a pre-assessment there.
Yep.
Huh? Well, I got to thank you from the bottom of my heart for letting us come here today and talk about the senior services of South Sound.
Oh, you're so
Absolutely
welcome.
marvelous. Thank
I know
so
you
much.
were one of our volunteers,
Yeah,
serving
that's
lunch in the
true.
dining room.
That's
We
right,
really
recently did
appreciate
that.
it.
So it works, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Eileen. Hi, I'm Bud Blake, and you're watching Thurston County Connection. There's more to come.
You're watching Thurston County Connection on TCTV. This program is on volunteers. Up next, a segment with the Medical Reserve Corps.
So the second segment of this program of volunteers here in Thurston County, I wanted to introduce you to the Medical Reserve Corps. And today I have with me the supervisor of the Medical Reserve Corps, Sue Pointer, and she's going to tell us a little bit about the volunteers and the volunteer activities that the Medical Reserve Corps take place here in Thurston County. Sue, how you doing?
Great, Commissioner Blake. Thanks for inviting me out here. And I do want to preface with, we have an amazing group of Medical Reserve Corps volunteers. We have about 110. And the purpose in our Medical Reserve Corps is really to provide that, what we call surge capacity in the event of a public health emergency.
Very critical.
Absolutely. It doesn't take very much to bubble our department over these days, and we really rely a lot on our volunteer corps. Our volunteer corps has been going since 2003. It really got started with one of our previous health officers, Dr. Diana Yu, started this program, or started our unit. It is a national program. There are over around 975 units across the state. We were one of the first in the nation, one of the first 5 in the nation to start a unit here in Thurston County Public Health. And it's really allowing an opportunity for medical as well as non-medical volunteers to come in and find a place to help and support and use their skill set during emergencies. And much of it started after 9/11, where they had a big flood of medical folks that wanted to help. But getting your volunteers vetted beforehand, and as we spoke about just a few minutes ago, meeting the people you're going to work with before the emergency is critical.
So important, yeah.
Very critical.
Speaking of, how many do we have here in Thurston County as far as volunteer members?
We have about 110. About 60% of those folks are medical volunteers, and that means that in some capacity, whether they're RN and LPN, we have dentists, we have physical therapists, we have vets that come on. You don't let them give you a shot, though.
No, I don't want that. Yeah.
We have some great folks, and then the other percentage of our volunteers is what we call non-medical, because for just about every medical volunteer in a response, we need a couple non-medical to handle the administrative.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have folks that come with all sorts of experience, from admin support to IT support to just being able to meet and greet people is critical, because people in emergencies, stress levels are up, et cetera. So we really encourage non-medical to come out and support this.
So I think you would agree with me. The 100, 150, they're pretty much the backbone of how the MRC, the Medical Reserve Corps, functions and operates. Give a little bit of insight of how the services that they are involved with and how they are, the outcomes of some of those things. Yeah.
Well, we definitely have a pretty good, what we call a vetting process to make sure if you are a medical person as well as non-medical, we make you go through a few little hoops where you register online. We ask you to take some basic training courses in incident command system, which aren't too difficult to take. We run a State Patrol background check, and then you are issued an emergency worker number, which provides some liability coverage, et cetera, and we work with our local emergency management on that. Psychological first aid and cultural competency is kind of the last piece of what we call our core competency.
Okay.
It would take a volunteer maybe about, if you're really speedy, it'd take you about 2 months to get up and ready so that you could we could activate you and you could be deployed. Some of our folks take a little longer. And then we offer training throughout the whole year so you can get refreshers as well. A big component, though, in what we do is we do a lot of training in terms of community events. And we try to get our volunteers out there active. A couple of things that we've done consistently is we do a couple of back-to-school immunization clinics.
Very important.
That happen in August and September, and we utilize a lot of our volunteers come out and basically they run that event. So they're prepping up and practicing things that they could support public health if there was a public health emergency. Other things, one of our big highlights this year is the Paddle to Nisqually event, in which we'll be providing first aid triage over the course of 7 days and working with the Nisqually tribe. So partnerships and we get to practice together with community partners is really critical for us and engages our volunteers.
So is it fair to say there's kind of a routine role or what have you, and then there's an emergency management role or emergency placement role too, is it not for the MRC?
Correct.
Yeah, and what do they do?
And some of those pieces, so I've talked to you a little bit about how to get going. Talked to you about the training opportunities or events, but we've activated our MRC several times over the last 6 to 8 years. H1N1 was a key. We had some deputy health officers because of the enormous amount of hours. We had folks deployed out to clinics to help provide that particular flu shot. The latest, or the last one, we also had it was a whooping cough epidemic, and we went out and deployed our MRC volunteers to go out and do 6 clinics countywide, giving over 700 what would be called a Tdap shot, or it's specifically for whooping cough, and I hope you had yours. We're encouraging folks to do that for immunizations. We've also helped with Homeless Connect events that we've done. We support senior games. We come in and provide that medical triage component for those, and it gives our volunteers an opportunity to practice. But as far as real activation, we've had a few, and they've been great opportunities. The snowstorm back in 2012, we activated and deployed our MRC out to provide support at shelters.
So a huge role and very integral part of the county and the community as a whole.
Absolutely, and they're a critical support piece for public health and that mission of public health to protect and promote the health of residents in Thurston County.
Sure. And do we have a volunteer here today?
We do, and I give all my credit to our amazing volunteers. Kay Smith is one of our volunteers that has been with us a little over 7 years now.
As Sue was explaining, there are about 150 volunteers with the Medical Reserve Corps, also known as MRC, here in Thurston County. But today we have Kay Smith, and she's going to highlight just how she and the other 149 volunteers play a role in our society and the community as a whole. Kay, how you doing?
I'm doing just fine, thank you.
Great. And how long have you been with the MRC?
I started with the MRC in the fall of 2009, about 7 years.
Oh, my word. And so tell us some of the things that you do in terms of activities, and either administratively or operationally in the MRC.
It's a wide variety. I've been on the leadership team for about 3 years.
Okay.
I have helped with most of the immunization clinics. I do a refresher course for the people that are doing the vaccinations. I've worked senior games, excuse me. I have worked with RAM in Seattle, the Regional Area Medical Clinic.
Wow.
I'm going to help with the Nisqually Paddle this year. No, there's a couple others, but I don't remember.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. And so what makes you want to be a part of this MRC, this thing that deploys or administratively? What keeps you going as far as
I'm a
being involved?
retired RN,
Okay.
and I wanted to be able to use those skills, which I can do with the Medical Reserve Corps. But contrary to a lot of volunteer organizations, I can set my own schedule. I can sign up when I want to, which allows me free to do travel. It's really beneficial for a lot of retired people. We aren't locked into a weekly assignment.
So you're still giving back to society. It's a passion of yours. You have the
Right.
flexibility of your life and the time and hours of the day. Is that kind of consistent throughout the other 140, 149
I
volunteers?
think it is.
Yeah.
There's a variety of involvement, but once people do become actively involved, they really do enjoy it. You meet people from all walks of life. I've been exposed to a lot of other volunteer opportunities, which I do with Camp Leo for type 1 diabetes children.
Okay.
But it's very satisfactory to be able to do something and to know that what you've done has helped them. And you get that feeling when you do an activity.
To make that difference, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. So with the Medical Reserve Corps, I know there's about 150 volunteers out there, but if one wanted to become involved, how would they go about doing it?
Well, the great news, Commissioner Blake, is that we have now hired a new MRC coordinator, which we had a replacement. Matt Zimmerman is our MRC coordinator, and you can go on our website, Thurston County Public Health, or worst case scenario, you can Google Thurston County MRC or Medical Reserve Corps, and you'll find us and pop up, and get a hold of Matt. He'll run you through the process. There's some really easy steps to get involved, and as Kay mentioned, you can be as active as you want. We ask that all of our volunteers do at least 2 events a year to stay active and current.
That's a fair number, yep.
Yeah, it's important for them to stay active. So,
Is there an endless number of volunteers that could come here, or are you looking for a certain number?
well, with all volunteers, there's a certain level of attrition where you get a few more
Right.
in, and a few more decide that they've put in their time and they want to move on. So we try to keep that number about current where it is now. And
150, 200, something like that?
we'll get up there someday, but we want to keep our volunteers pretty busy. So they're
Okay.
putting in anywhere from about 1,300 to 1,700 hours of volunteer service a year.
Wow.
On average, and that's through training as well as what we call events.
Right.
Some active deployments, but knock on wood, we haven't had too many in the last year or two.
Well, thank you so much for what you and the volunteers at MRC do. We certainly appreciate you, your service and your dedication to Thurston County.
Absolutely, and on behalf of the MRC, we'd like to present you with an MRC pin and make you a temporary member.
Oh, wow.
We'll get you on that list to
That's
start
good.
signing up and volunteering with us.
That's great. I'll be there for you. Thank
Very
you so
good.
much, Sue.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
This is Thurston County Connection on TCTV, Thurston Community Television. This program is on volunteers. The next segment has to do with 4-H.
Welcome back to the topic of volunteering and volunteerism in Thurston County. As we mentioned before, we had the senior portion of this, and then we talked about the medical. And now I'd like to address the youth and volunteers and volunteerism in Thurston County that help the youth out. And there's many organizations out there, but in particular is the 4-H of Thurston County. And today I invited Diana Ullery to come here and talk to us about it. She's the program manager for 4-H Thurston County. Hello, Diane. How you doing?
Great.
Yeah, so give a little background on what 4-H is and some of the
Okay.
things that are involved in it.
4-H is the Youth Development Program of Washington State University, and it's an old program. It's been around since 1902, which a lot of people don't know. And there's kind of a stereotype about 4-H. It's only about the animals and the farming and stuff. That's really where it started, but 4-H has changed a lot over the years. It's really adapted. And the Youth Development Program now reaches kids of kindergarten through 19,
Yeah, far and wide,
all
huh?
kinds of interests.
Wow.
So
And so about how many people are involved in 4-H's staff and help you out as a program manager?
in Thurston County, I just have an AmeriCorps volunteer on our staff, and we also just hired a part-time program assistant. And so the 3 of us are really in charge of coordinating the volunteers and developing the programming.
Sure. With that small of a staff, how many volunteers are there that help out with 4-H? And then we'll talk about some of the things they do or don't
Okay.
do.
Well, we have about 170 adult volunteers.
Okay.
And those are club leaders and their assistants and project leaders and folks who are involved really directly in working with kids. We also have teen leaders and teen volunteers.
Okay, so it's broken out into 2.
And we have about 400 members right now of 4-H in Thurston County.
Oh, gone. You know, and I've come to a couple of the events as far as 4-H, and one thing I've always noticed about, especially for the adult volunteers, is the number of years that they've served. If I remember correctly, there's I don't know the number, but a handful are at 20 and 30 years.
Yes.
Kind of tell me, why do they want to be involved? Is it a passion? Why do they do that, I guess?
I think 4-H volunteers really do have a passion for helping kids to develop their skills, to develop life skills, to develop into those really wonderful adults that we all enjoy interacting with. And they do such a great job of it that when they've got that commitment, you know, they're all in.
All in. They do live by that, don't they? And some of the programs that the adult volunteers are involved in, or they consist of what?
Well, there's volunteers who run clubs and who head up that kind of operation end of it. There are also volunteers who focus specifically on projects. So if a member wants to have a particular project, whether it's a robotics project or it's a livestock project, they need an adult to work with them, because that adult-youth partnership is really basic and inherent to 4-H.
And so for the teen version of that, how do they become involved as a volunteer?
Well, the teens get great leadership experience in our teen club. They get experience going to teen conferences. They put on conferences for other younger youth. And in Thurston County, we've started a program where we train our teens as teachers, and they actually are teaching some of our programs for kids who aren't necessarily already in 4-H, but maybe are interested in learning about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So with 170-something adults and 400-something teen volunteers, how does that number impact the actual core portion of the 4-H? How many people do you service, I guess, in terms of children and what have you in the 4-H club?
Well, the club is just one way of reaching our youth. And we're also developing outreach programs. So we've had a program in Rochester. We're reaching out to other kind of underserved areas where 4-H really has not had much of an impact for a while. And so we're reaching out to all of the county and trying to bring in some of our after-school programs. We work with other organizations that do after-school programs. And we also reach out through schools. So,
great. And for the adults, again, the volunteers, do you have some that are here today to be able to talk about their volunteerism?
Yes.
And who are they?
This is Doreen Tudor, who is our teen club leader, and she also heads up the Interstate Exchange Club, which she can tell you about.
Sure.
And she's also an advisor for Know Your Government program.
That's very good stuff.
Doreen has grown up in 4-H, and so she's a great model for our teens. And then the other person who's here is Debbie Clark, who also is a longtime leader, and she's been very involved in livestock, and she's a superintendent at the fair, and she's really, I think, is one of those folks who has brought in generations of 4-Hers.
A true natural leader, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk to them.
Sure.
You bet. So I'm here with Doreen. She's one of our fabulous 4-H volunteers, and Doreen's going to tell us a little bit about herself and some of the programs she's involved with at 4-H. And just to let you know, Doreen's been with 4-H since she was 7 years old, and she's got quite the experience. Hi, Doreen. How you doing?
Hi, Bud.
So
Good.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you're involved with 4-H, and then we can talk about some of the programs.
Well, let's see. I started in 4-H when I was 7 and participated in several projects, a lot of home ec projects, such as sewing and cooking and arts and crafts. And I also was in the dog project and also sewed in gaming and horses.
Oh my gosh.
So I was pretty extensive in the 4-H program.
So since you're the time of 7 years old, this has had a really big impact on you and how it shaped your life in terms of not only a young adult to adult, and now you're a senior leader of the 4-H.
Right.
Just kind of give some background on how that's shaped your life and how it's done that for other kids too.
I would say that 4-H has made me who I am today, which is kind of cliche, but I've done a lot of leadership training and learning about the program, and I needed it when I was a teenager in particular. I needed guidance from some other people, from them being my own parent, and I got that through 4-H, and that's really what made me bond with it and be able to keep going with
There
it.
you go. And now you got the dedication and commitment. And so as far as a team leader, tell us a little bit about that and walk us through some of the programs you have oversight over.
Okay. My programs are 4-H programs, and they are leadership, citizenship, service learning.
Oh, wow.
So we participate in all this district and statewide events such as Teen Rally in the fall, Know Your Government, which is for high school students, which is really nice.
How big is that?
This last year we had 17 kids enrolled in the government program from Thurston County, and about 300 kids go to that program.
300. Is that statewide? And
Yeah, about statewide.
Yeah,
it is statewide.
Okay, good.
And it's a 4-year program, so if they start as a freshman, they learn all 3 branches of the government, and then also an additional 4th year of the media.
Right. And so this last one, was it located here locally, or did you have to travel across the state, or what have you?
It's held every year at the Red Lion Hotel in Olympia.
Oh, okay. So why do you do this? What makes you get out of bed and do this for the number of years you've been involved? What do you get out of it?
I like being a mentor, and I like seeing kids grow into being adults, and I like to make friends with the families, and I've had really good success with that rapport.
Wow, that's absolutely incredible. I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for shaping kids and letting them think these things through. It's very kind of you, and your dedicated service to 4-H in Thurston County is very, very, very marvelous. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bud.
You bet. All right. We're out here at Heritage Hall at the fairgrounds, and I wanted to introduce you to Debbie Clark. She's a absolutely wonderful volunteer for 4-H here in Thurston County, and she's a superintendent of many different things involved with livestock and how she interacts with the kids. And so, Debbie, how you doing there?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Bob.
Tell a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in 4-H, and then we can talk about the superintendent pieces.
Okay. I joined 4-H when I was 9 years old, and I stayed in 4-H as a member until I was 19, and I have been involved as a leader for 29 years.
Oh my word, 29 years. That is dedication beyond expectation there.
I did, I was at Horse Project when in 4-H, sheep and livestock, rabbits, and cooking.
Cooking. Well, that's my favorite part, but that's good. A superintendent, tell us a little bit about your role as a superintendent and things you do today with helping children out.
Well, here at the Thurston County Fair for 4-H, I am the sheep superintendent, and I assist the kids with their animal husbandry, preparing for the fair, teaching them how to prepare their animals for fair, medical, health care, everything they need to know, and how to show their animals properly. I'm also the livestock judging superintendent, which involves all the livestock, beef, sheep, goats, all the livestock, where the kids actually do the judging.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
And it's a program where it teaches them decision making. And they have to do oral and written reasons, which gives them the opportunity to justify their decisions.
Right, the whole assessment, evaluation, some critical thinking and assessment that goes behind that.
And then we also work with the fleece and fiber.
Fleece and fiber, and what is that?
That's wool, sheep wool, llama wool, alpaca wool. Either just plain shorn fleeces or products that were made from those fleeces.
That is absolutely great. And so a superintendent, and you do the judging of the livestock. How many children do you interact on, say, a daily or weekly basis? Just kind of give the audience some numbers of how you...
When we're working at fair, we have approximately 20 kids in the sheep department only, and there's well over 100 in the livestock department in general. And then those 20 members that work with the fleece and fiber, about half of those actually get into the wool with the spinning and the looms and all that fabric working.
Do they ever take any of this to market, or do they just do it for crafts? What do they do with some of this that they do in terms of handling the sheep and other livestock?
The livestock, yes, the beef, sheep, and the swine members, a lot of them do raise their animals to sell here at the market sale, where they have 4-H and FFA kids can sell their animals that are ready for market. And then the rest of them just have breeding stock.
Oh, okay, breeding stock. So can you just kind of outline why kids get involved in this? Does it just make them because they're just envious of other kids? They don't handle livestock? Why do kids get involved in 4-H from your perspective?
I think that it's a program that it teaches leadership, life skills, and community service. And I think that kids want and need that sort of interaction with other kids in their community and with adults.
Community, team building.
Absolutely.
You bet. And the care and love for the animals and the nature that we have around us.
Well, I think it's important that that we can teach those skills, but it's not, the project itself is not as important as being able to teach those skills. So you find what interests that child, and then you focus their interest, whether it's livestock,
right in on it, huh?
livestock or robotics or computers or whatever it is, because you can teach the same life skills with whatever project. You just have to pull that child into what interests them.
You bet. And then it just blossoms from there, huh?
Absolutely.
And why does Debbie get involved in something like this for a number of 29 years? What makes you tick? What makes Debbie tick in terms of doing the volunteerism?
Well, deep down, I'm a teacher. I did go to WSU and get a teaching degree.
Yeah, of course.
And I've always been interested in teaching and sharing and guiding and mentoring. And my kids were, I was in 4-H, like I said, my kids were all in 4-H, and now my grandchildren are in 4-H here in Thurston County. So it's just a generational sort of thing.
Good for you.
And it keeps me young too.
Oh, there you go. Keeps you up and going.
Working with kids.
Well, I cannot thank you enough for what you do and taking care of the children and showing them the leadership for the 29 years. It's very remarkable. I just, it's a great pleasure to have you here today, and look forward to more.
Oh, thank you very much, bud.
Thank you, Dad. So, Diana, you mentioned there's about 170 volunteers as far as the adults, and then 400 something are the teens. Are you in need of more volunteers to come into the 4-H Thurston County?
We're always in need of more volunteers because there's always more young people who are interested in being in 4-H.
Yeah.
So I always encourage parents or anyone who has an interest in
Any generation, any age,
generation,
and
exactly.
to get involved and to be a part of this, right?
Exactly.
And so if they decide they want to become a member of the 4-H, how do they go about doing that, getting in touch with it?
Okay, they can contact our 4-H office. The number is 360-867-2157, and someone in our office will be happy to talk with them about. Most people have questions about, well, what's involved and how long does it take and what do I have to do? And there are some basic components that Washington State requires.
And what are they?
Background check, some pretty basic things. There's an application form, and then we do a volunteer orientation. And if they want to be a club leader, I also do a club management workshop with people. And I try to set those up so that it's flexible and easy to access, and we try to get people up and running and working with kids as soon as we can.
Sure. You mentioned up and running. Did they have to have any farming experience or any kind of experience? What kind of
in fact, what I tell people the best thing they can bring is a real interest in working with youth and a sense of humor. And those two things pretty much take care of it.
Yeah, doggone.
Anything else we can help and provide the support and the tools to get people doing what they want to do.
You bet. Well, I'd like to thank you very much for what you do for WSU Extension, 4-H Thurston County. You've been remarkable in your leadership and your attributes, and I just can't thank you enough for all the things you do.
Thanks for your support.
Thank you, Diana. I'm Commissioner Bud Blake, and you've been watching a program today on TCTV about volunteers and volunteerism in Thurston County. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.